at the Benicia Historical Cemetery military ceremony, and we are setting out chairs for tomorrow's event.
Destroyer, DD-666.
Right there. I think it's seeing all the people that come out and how important it is to them, and the different age groups.
I was in the, well, at that time it was the Army Air Corps.
Yep.
And then they turned over to the Air Force.
Right.
Awesome. Yeah,
I was in from 1943 to 46.
The Army engineer.
True story.
2 tours of duty in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Pull it out the right time.
James was from last year, William just this past March.
Where are they serving?
He's in Washington State right now, and he's in school in Missouri.
These 2 gentlemen are from the Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey that are here from German to represent.
Good morning, everyone. How's everybody today? All right. Great weather. I'm retired Navy Master Chief Larry J. Miller, President of the Benicia Historical Society. And on behalf of the Benicia Historical Society, I would like to welcome you to today's Memorial Day ceremony. We would like to recognize the following officials. Rebecca Roberts, representing Congressman Mike Thompson. Mike Sponsler, representing Assemblyman Tim Grayson. Mayor Elizabeth Patterson. Dana Dean, trustee of the Solano County Board of Education. Laura Pishmont Quibley, military cemetery responsible official. And Benicia Councilman Mark Hughes. We also welcome the German delegation from the Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey, including Lieutenant Christoph Weinheimer and Lieutenant Darius Ally of the German Air Force. I would also like to acknowledge a Mr. Gus Perscheib, who's 94, is the U.S. Navy in World War II, probably the oldest person here today. I don't know whether he can stand today or not. Huh? Oh, they're saying 98. Sorry.
Oh, it's a different person.
Oh, there's another person that's 98. All right. On this day, we honor the memory of those who gave their lives in defense of the United States Constitution and the freedoms we enjoy every day. We show our gratitude to all those men and women who serve now or have served our country in every branch of the military. At this time, would all the veterans please stand? Would all the active duty members and reserve members stand? All right. Note that this event is to honor these service members too. Today we have been granted the honor of 2 flyovers. They will include a U.S. Coast Guard San Francisco Station MH-65D helicopter, which should fly by approximately about 10:15, and a Travis Air Force Base 60th Air Mobility Wing C5 at approximately 10:25. And it may be very loud, so get those earplugs out. Today's color guard will be made up of members of American Legion Post 101, VFW Post 3928, VFW Auxiliary, and the Sons of the American Legion. Without further ado, I would invite you all to stand as the color guard posts the colors.
Left, right, left. Color guard, halt. Left, haste. Post the colors. Present, harm. Order, harm.
I would like to introduce the Diablo Regional Concert Band and their director, Cora Martins. They will lead us in the national anthem.
Present, harm. Left, haste. Forward, forward. Left. Left, 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 right. Left, left, right, left.
I would now like to introduce the Benicia Girl Scouts. And they will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
My name is Emma Souza from Troop 20411, representing Benicia Girl Scouts. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to read you parts of an article written by a female soldier before her untimely death in Afghanistan. I chose this article because it clearly expresses the meaning of Memorial Day. A Soldier's View of Memorial Day by Major Jaime Leonard, published May 27, 2010. When I was a young girl growing up in Warwick, I'm not really sure I really ever truly understood what Memorial Day meant. As I grew older, I appreciated it as a 3-day weekend with time off from school or work. Even later, when I joined what was then a peacetime army, I failed to truly appreciate the emotional significance of this holiday. Memorial Day felt the same as Veterans Day. It was a day to thank soldiers. Being one at the time, I appreciated the thanks, but I still failed to correctly realize what it meant. It was not until I actually went to war in Iraq, and when fellow soldiers in my unit failed to make it back from patrol, did I truly internalize the distinction. It wasn't until then that I truly valued how those brave men and women who died serving our country deserved their own day, memorializing their sacrifices. Furthermore, realizing it's not only their sacrifice that requires recognition, but also their family left behind. Major Jaime Leonard died on June 8, 2013 in Sharna, Afghanistan, serving her country and making the ultimate sacrifice. She was posthumously advanced to colonel. There are many religions in the world. There's no one right way to honor our fallen heroes. Therefore, we will now have 1 minute of silence where everyone can honor our fallen heroes in their own way. Thank you. And we have the helicopter. As the president of the Benicia Historical Society, it is my honor to give you a brief history of the cemetery. The Benicia Army Cemetery is the oldest U.S. military post cemetery in the Pacific States. It was a post cemetery for the Benicia Barracks, which from 1849 to 1857 served as the headquarters for the U.S. Army's Pacific Division. For much of that period, Benicia Barracks contained the only Army hospital on the West Coast. The cemetery contains 211 interments dating from 1849 to 1958. These include 123 U.S. military personnel, 9 foreign military personnel who were German and Italian prisoners of war, 61 civilians, 18 of unknown affiliation, and 3 pets. Members of the Ordnance Department, Quartermaster Corps, Single Corps, Corps of Engineers, Infantry, Artillery, Cavalry, and Marine Corps are buried here. The cemetery also contains the remains of women and children who were dependents of soldiers stationed at Benicia. John Foley, who was awarded a Congressional Medal of Honor, is among the unknown. In the past, headstones were simple wood markers and information about the deceased was painted on. Over time, this information was lost, and when the disinterment were reinterred here, the graves were marked as unknown. The earliest date burial at this cemetery was First Lieutenant Charles E. Jarvis, who died June 8, 1849 at Sonoma, California. Emily G. Bramer, wife of Staff Sergeant Charles Bramer, died June 12, 1958, and was the last person buried in the cemetery. The Benicia Army Post Cemetery is listed on the National Register of Historic Places as part of the Benicia Arsenal, Benicia Barracks Historic District. The Benicia Historical Society sponsors this annual Memorial Day ceremony in order to remember and honor those who are buried here, as well as all men and women of the armed forces. Today's ceremony is dedicated to Harry Wassman, who passed away this past year. We have Harry Wassman to thank for beginning the tradition of these Memorial Day ceremonies here at the Arsenal Cemetery more than 30 years ago. We thank Harry for establishing the tradition that we continue and for setting the standard of excellence that we strive to meet every year. Harry has made the past more present for all of us. Every year, our Memorial Day ceremony honors those who have given their lives in service to our country and Constitution, as well as those who are serving or have served in the uniformed services. Now for the placing of the wreaths. As I call your names, please come forward to prepare for this presentation. Benicia Boy Scouts. Retired Navy Master Chief Larry J. Miller of the Benicia Historical Society. Ed Hefferman, Commander, American Legion, Benicia Post 101. Victor Ray, Commander, VFW Post 3928. We will be placing the wreath on the grave of a U.S. soldier. Ingeborg Eulinger, Vice President of the United German American Societies of the East Bay. Marie Hoffman, President of the Excelsior German Center. And Barbara Clement will be doing the German wreath. Lieutenant Christoph Weinheimer and Lieutenant Darius Ali of the German Air Force. They will lay the wreath on the grave of a German prisoner of war. Steve Jitsi and his son, First Lieutenant David Jitsi, Oregon National Guard, will lay the wreath on the grave of the Italian prisoner of war. Heather Graves and her dog Baxter will lay the wreath on the grave of a military service pet. The Diablo Regional Concert Band will perform America the Beautiful during these presentations. Please join me in standing while the wreaths are presented. Johanna Ely, Benicia's Poet Laureate. Johanna.
The poem I'm going to share with you this morning was originally written as a song. It was written by J.W. Barker, published in 1920, and it was written about the Civil War, although, as with many good songs and poems, they carry through to the present. I took the liberty to change one of the lines. The line originally read, "Come our brave sons from far," and I'm going to read it as, "Come our brave sons and daughters from far." The poem is titled, "The Dead Volunteer." Silently, tenderly, mournfully home, from the red battlefield, volunteers come, not with a loud hurrah, not with a wild eclat, not with the tramp of war, come our brave sons and daughters from far. Gently and noiselessly bear them along, hushed by the battle cry, music, and song. Silently, tenderly, mournfully home, not as they marched away, volunteers come, not with the sword and gun, not with the stirring drum, come our dead heroes home. Now all their work is done, thoughtfully, prayerfully, bear ye the dead, pillow it softly, the volunteer's head. Silently, tenderly, mournfully home, where should the brave volunteer come, but to his native hills, where the bright gushing rills freedom's sweet music fills, and her soft dew distills. Peacefully, prayerfully, lay our brave friend close to the home he fought to defend. Silently, how perfect. Silently, tearfully, welcome the brave. Glory encircles the patriot's grave. Here let affection swell. Here let the marble tell how the brave heroes fell, loving their country well. Silently, tenderly, mournfully home, welcome the brave volunteers as they come. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Colonel Lawrence T. Brown. Colonel Brown became the Presidio of Monterey's garrison commander on June 23, 2016. A military intelligence officer, Colonel Brown's previous assignment was at Special Operations Command South in Homestead, Florida, where he served as the Director of Intelligence since 2014. Prior to this, he was the NATO training mission Afghanistan Director of Intelligence in Kabul from 2013 to 2014. Upon earning a master's in strategic studies from the Army War College in 2012, Colonel Brown deployed to Pakistan for 11 months, where he served as the Director of Operations for the Office of the Defense Representative, U.S. Embassy, Islamabad. From 2009 to 11, he commanded the 532nd Military Intelligence Battalion in the Republic of Korea. Beforehand, Colonel Brown was Chief Analytical and Control Element for the United States Army Europe for a year. From 2006 to 2008, he was the 66th Military Intelligence Brigade's Operation Officer. Colonel Brown spent 2005 to 2006 in Afghanistan as the Operations Officer for the 165th Military Intelligence Battalion. This is Colonel Brown's second time with us, and we are honored to have him as our keynote speaker today.
Good morning, Benicia. They brought me back a second time because I guess I had to, in the military we do redos if we don't get it right the first time. Rebecca Roberts, representing United States Congressman Mike Thompson, who I know is a Vietnam veteran, 173rd, a veteran. I hope to meet him one day. If you please give him my regards. Mike Sponsler, who's representing Assemblyman Tim Grayson. Again, City Mayor Patterson. Past President Trustee Education Dana Dean, and City Councilman Mark Hughes. Thank you for your welcome today. I'm honored to be back in beautiful Benicia this year, the jewel of Solano County, where President Ulysses S. Grant was once stationed here as an Army officer, and General Tecumseh Sherman reflected in his memoirs describing Benicia as the best natural site for a commercial city in the region. While coming across the Benicia-Martinez Bridge, one can obviously see that General Sherman's assessment of 150 years ago was absolutely right on the money. I'm truly humbled that Mayor Patterson and the Benicia Historical Society allowed me to come back to make a few remarks on this lovely Memorial Day here at this quaint and out-of-the-way Benicia Army Cemetery. It is the only active remnant of the United States Army Benicia Arsenal, which, as you might recall, was part of President Franklin Roosevelt's arsenal of democracy. As I stated last year, as a native Californian and as a soldier, I love and care for this cemetery for what it means to the citizens of Benicia, the Greater Bay Area, and what it means to our Army and our nation's history. You can tell this is true by how spectacular it looks today and how well it's maintained. And because it's an Army cemetery and its hallowed graves are part of my purview as the garrison commander, Presidio Monterey, my public works staff and I take serious our responsibility to maintain and care for those who find the final resting place here. So on behalf of the United States Army, I want to thank the city of Benicia and the Benicia Historical Society for sponsoring this event today to honor and remember those who are buried here. Additionally, I would like to give special thanks to two organizations today that supported the cemetery over the past year. Both of them are the immediate neighbors of the cemetery. First, the Valero Energy Corporation for going above and beyond by maintaining the access road in good conditions. It's Valero who owns the road and the Army who only owns the 1 acre cemetery. So we are very thankful of Valero's gracious support in letting the Army and the citizens of this country to have access to this 1 acre paradise. Next, I want to recognize and thank the community right next door to us and up the hill to the right, and it's Costa Vista Homeowners Association. The association recently approved work to repair the storm drain on their property that has a tendency to back up into the cemetery during the rainy season. The exact scope and timing are currently being worked out, but the intention is to complete the work before the next rainy season. I really appreciate the Homeowners Association taking decisive action to lessen the storm drain water impact on the cemetery and its honored dead. Today we are here once again to remember and honor the 1.8 million service members who gave their lives in service to country during conflict through our nation's history. These fallen members of our armed forces were not just soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guardsmen, but they were our sons and daughters, our sisters and brothers, our mothers and fathers, and our ancestors. But more importantly, they are our fellow countrymen who paid the ultimate sacrifice and demonstrated the ultimate act of love by laying down their life for others. In fact, and if you think about it, they laid down their lives for fellow citizens and posterity that they did not even know. We, the citizens of the United States, are the beneficiaries of this ultimate act of love that enabled the continuation of the American experiment, the indispensable democracy. I am thankful for being part of this experiment called the United States of America, and I'm here to show gratitude to those fallen that made it possible. I appreciate everyone who has joined me today to do the same. I also want to recognize and show gratitude to the members of the greatest generation who are here today, the veterans of World War II. If you're able, please stand to be recognized. Ladies and gentlemen, the members of the greatest generation, thank you for literally saving the world. We are losing too many of them too fast, so cherish every moment with them while they're still with us. I would also like to recognize any Gold Star families at this time. Any of those in the audience today who have lost a loved one in service to the nation, please stand. Thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for your sacrifice and for letting us remember their cherished memory. Finally, I think it's especially important to recognize our NATO allies here today. Germany stands shoulder to shoulder with us daily in the war on terrorism and against Russian aggression that Eastern Europe is experiencing today. They have fallen soldiers here too, which they are here to honor, and we should extend every courtesy to them as our special guests. Thank you and danke schön. I would be remiss today if I didn't mention one other distinguished soldier who was mentioned, Our very own Medal of Honor recipient, Sergeant Foley, buried here in one of the graves marked unknown. The point is, he was an immigrant, like so many of our service members throughout our history. In fact, I will talk a little today about the many men like him, for our immigrant population are among our bravest and most decorated. So, on this Memorial Day, yes. And just as a side note, hopefully technology will present to us an opportunity where we'll be able to identify Sergeant Foley. If we were able to identify him as a Medal of Honor winner, the Medal of Honor would have been engraved on his tombstone, highlighted in gold leaf. So hopefully we'll have an opportunity to do some work and eventually identify where he's at in the cemetery. So on this Memorial Day, let us be inspired by the lives who have fallen and those who walked a more difficult path than us. You know, sometimes the political turmoil that our country is going through really gets to us, either making us really angry, really depressed, or just plain despondent with no hope of improvement. But you are really not different from the service members who went before you. The feelings are the same, I'm sure, but the circumstances were a lot different. Take, for example, the Buffalo Soldiers of the Old West, the segregated regiments of the 9th and 10th Cavalry, and the 24th and 25th Infantry Regiments. Two of these units, the 9th Cavalry and the 24th Infantry, were just stationed 45 miles away at the Presidio of San Francisco. Imagine their life for a moment. Having served gallantly and with distinction in the American plains and the Southwest, to duty in Cuba, the Philippines, Hawaii, and Mexico, they still had the spirit to stand in service to the United States despite severe discrimination and segregation as a result of the repressive Jim Crow laws. Why did they give so much when their nation gave them so little? Do you think they were angry at times? How about depressed or despondent? Do you think they had good reason to be? What about the 442nd Regimental Combat Team of World War II? Another segregated unit, but this time of second-generation Japanese Americans who were labeled as Category 4C, enemy aliens. Remarkable, the Japanese Americans assigned to this unit went on to become the most decorated military unit in U.S. history. In fact, this unit passed through Oakland Army Base, just 29 miles away, while they were moving back east for training to get them ready for combat in Europe. The 14,000 Japanese American men who served in this segregated unit by war's end racked up no less than 9,486 Purple Hearts. This means 2/3 of the unit were wounded or killed, as signified by the award. The combat team was also awarded 8 Presidential Unit Citations, 5 of those earned in 1 month, and in its ranks, 21 Medal of Honor recipients, including the late U.S. Senator Daniel Inouye from Hawaii. The unit's motto was "Go for Broke," and they did that in the European Theater of Operations, even rescuing a lost infantry battalion that had become cut off and surrounded by enemy forces for nearly a week. Going for broke, that rescue cost the regiment 800 men in 5 days to rescue 211 soldiers of the lost battalion. Why did these segregated and discriminated Japanese Americans fight so hard when their country seized their families' property, rounded up their parents, grandparents, and placed them in internment camps? Reflecting on this story, it makes me wonder why I even get angry at all. I have had an easy life and a career in comparison, never really having to go for broke as these dispossessed Americans did. So what's your point, Colonel Brown? My point today, this Memorial Day, is this. Don't lose faith in your country and its turbulent politics. Don't become angry or depressed. Don't become despondent and lose hope. These soldiers that I just talked about did not give up on their country, even though they had a good reason to do so. In fact, they gave their last full measure of devotion to ensure its continual existence. They knew in spades that their country was imperfect and sorely let them down, but their selfless service and ultimate sacrifice was made because they all hoped and truly believed in the United States and the ideals outlined in our Constitution. These soldiers aforementioned went for broke, and you will recognize these words. In order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. How many of you remember these words we learned in grade school of the preamble of the Constitution? Just mere words? No. These American minorities believed in them so much, not only did they allow their government and fellow countrymen to abuse them for these ideals, but they died for them, knowing one day that their country would realize their hopes and dreams by the sacrifices they made for themselves, their families, and their descendants. May God give us the wisdom and perseverance to each of us here today to help make our union more perfect, like those brave men and women who went before us and those who are buried here today. They accomplished the task at hand with little complaint, little despair, and a lot of hope. Let me close with two stanzas of an appropriate poem that kind of ties everything together of what I just talked about. This is from Theodore O'Hare's poem, The Bivouac of the Dead, which was originally written about fallen soldiers in 1847 during the Mexican War, for which the territory and subsequent state of California was established. The muffled drum's sad roll has beat the soldier's last tattoo. No more on life's parade shall meet that brave and fallen few. On fame's eternal camping ground, their silent tents to spread, and glory guards with solemn round the bivouac of the dead. Ladies and gentlemen, please remember the sacrifices of those I talked about today. Please remember those who are buried in this cemetery. Remember them throughout your days and in your prayers. And please, please, please remember our sons and daughters who are still in harm's way every day around the world. God bless you all, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
As we close our Memorial Day ceremony, I'd like to ask Command Master Major Roberto O. Marshal, Presidio of Monterey, to read the military oath of enlistment. After he has finished, we will move immediately to the final segments of the program without any breaks.
The military oath of enlistment. I, Roberto O. Marshal, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me according to regulation and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God.
Our buglers today for taps are Thomas Martinez and Stephen Newcomer, Monterey High School, JROTC. The colors will be retired while Lloyd Christensen plays Amazing Grace on the bagpipes. Please rise and remain standing until the buglers have finished taps and the colors have been retired. This ends our Memorial Day ceremony. I would like to add special thanks to several people who did not get noted in the program. Chairs and tables were set up with help from and thanks to Benicia High Key Club and the Benicia Boy Scouts. Cemetery improvements provided by Laura Prishma, Quigley, CSM Marshall, and soldiers from the Presidio of Monterey. Thanks to Denise McCoy and Isaac McCoy, Jesse Sangren, and Pat Mahoney from Amports for helping with the traffic control and transportation. A video of today's ceremony will be available at the Benicia Historical Society's website. On behalf of the Benicia Historical Society, I would like to invite you to join us for light refreshments in the back. The members of the Historical Society take great pride in our Memorial Day ceremony and invite you to become a member. Events such as this are part of what makes Benicia such a special place to live, and all it takes is dedicated people, time, and money. Please consider joining and/or making a donation. A membership application is in today's program. Thank you all for taking part in this year's Memorial Day ceremony. Please take the time to appreciate our historic cemetery and thank a veteran or member of the military for their service. Thank you very much.